Hey, how's it going? Um, hey, take a look at my signs. Just in case I say something untoward, I'm excusing myself in advance. Okay, so this is going to be short. Um, the past couple of videos I've made, I've been talking about sand, and it just wasn't making sense, like, why sand? But, I had a number of things that had to do with sand. In the last video I made, I talk about it, but it was like 5 things came, and I was like, okay, I'm paying attention to sand. So all of the examples came and like made me aware of sand having some type of significance, but I didn't know what it meant. All I could do was just kind of report, like, okay, I saw this and this happened and it related to sand in this way, and that's kind of where I was. And then my focus seemed to shift to the idea that despite appearances, speaking from the standpoint of the United States, despite appearances, that looks like we're not really progressing and we're never going to get along with each other and be able to have a conversation. Like, it just kind of has seemed hopeless, I guess. Although it feels like Thanksgiving went by not too terribly badly. I think a lot of people were afraid of that because that's the time that the holiday season, the winter holiday season in general, is when we spend family time with each other. And so, I mean, if you are used to having done that for years and years, and then suddenly you're not because you're having some sort of disagreement, you're going to feel like a sense of loss because you have not, kept to your routine. So, just a thought. But then it started to seem like integration was what I needed to be talking about in terms of each other, and sort of just accepting better than we have been, or like we used to, the differences between us, and not making such a big deal about it, not making it an altercation, or like of some sort of competition. It's like, God, everyone is here. We all have the right to be here. The fact that we're here tells me that that's so, and also just common sense and a whole bunch of other stuff. Like, it's kind of ridiculous to think that we can just displace each other because we don't get along. And so, like I was saying, despite the way it looks, I think that's exactly what's happening. Like, as dysfunctional and fractured as things seem right now, I actually think that all of that is what's along the way to us getting, like, together again, like having the ability and the inclination to spend time with each other and civilly, and to not be so resentful and competitive, and the feeling that someone's just going to take everything away from you. I can understand that if you have a shitty older brother or something, but all these strangers that you will very likely never see or meet in person, the idea that they're like going to take down your whole, like, your job, and they're taking all these things away from you, A, that's silly, and B, while you're thinking about that, why don't you give some thought to, have you done those things to other people? Like, calm down about that. Take a look at yourself and maybe, check yourself before you wreck yourself with your mouth or whatever. So, I don't think it's going to happen quickly. I think I think what it looks like right now is exactly what it is, just like clashing and disagreements and stuff. But, it's gone on for a long time. World society and culture has done things a certain way for a long time. But things do change eventually, so I'm not sure what the impetus is or will be to make us all sort of notice that that's what's happening and sort of like fall into it willingly. Because I mean, when you want to fight forever, can we just like start getting along and getting things done again, and be a productive society, which ideally means everyone's gonna benefit from it. So I guess there was an appetite for all of this agitation for a long time, but I'm hoping that in the coming years or like next seconds people start like changing their tune about all of these things. I think one big thing that would really aid in integration would be the mirror effect. Like I was just saying, just for a moment, when you find yourself, if you want to, like, get to that place in the future, you have to probably stop blaming everybody else for everything and realize that not only were you present while whatever you're complaining about went on, you were probably a participant. And so what part did you play? How did you help or not help that situation? I think we're not doing that. I think our self-awareness is more about acquisition and getting over on people. And what's good about that? I don't know. Like, it just, I feel like it just leaves bad feelings in its wake. Like, it's somebody always gets hurt behind that kind of thinking, I feel like. And so, what I finally realized about the sand and the integration, what they had to do with each other is, have you ever seen sand? And I mean ocean sand, not like lake sand or something like that, because the difference is sand is grains and like freshwater beaches are like pebbles. Maybe there's some sand ones, because I mean, I haven't been to every lake, but all the ones I've been to, that seems to be the case. The so-called sand at the shore is more pebbles than actual granules, So, anyway, the sand, if you look at it under a microscope, you'll see that it's all these different colors, it's all these different shapes. It's made up of a lot of bits of a lot of things, so I guess it makes sense that all of the pieces wouldn't be uniform and all look the same, but there's like pieces that are clear, there's ones that are black, and then every shade of tan, tawny, whatever in between sand. And then one of the things that came, one of the signs about sand was hourglass. And if you are familiar with what those look like, you know that the sand releases from one section and trickles down to the other. And that right there, like anywhere that happens, the sand is like a hole, and then it's constricted so that just part of it is forced through this little corridor, I guess, cylinder. And when it falls through there and then begins to reassemble into this hole again, bit by bit, what you can see is the sand falling down and all of the little minuscule pieces mixing and falling together just kind of randomly, and that seems to represent integration to me. So I guess we are the sand in all of our various appearances, and right now we're in some kind of period of flux, like we're sand in motion, in turbulence, a windstorm even. But those end, those settle. So I feel like our differences will also eventually reach that point. But so I just want to tell you, here's a couple of the things, the sand stuff. It was just starting to get weird. So yeah, the hourglass, right? It was a card that I have a like a email thing, like not like an account. I'm not like paying for it. It's just one of those free deals on your email that you can get, that they want you to start buying stuff, but I never do. But anyway, I get a card read from one of those sites, and it gave me the hourglass. Ow. And it's about a test of your resilience. Okay, so I'm going to read what it says. The hourglass, I guess this is not going to be short after all. The hourglass card carries a message of managing your time wisely and understanding its fleeting nature. So that takes me back to the initial sand vision I had, which was sandcastles. And I talk about that in a previous video, and also on my Wix site if you want to go looking for that. But what I said was that when you're like a kid at the beach and you're sitting in the water there at the edge of the water making sandcastles, you know that you have, or maybe you know, I knew that I had like a limited amount of time between making one and then the water coming to wash it away, you know, and then it's gone, so you just have to make another one. So it struck me when I thought about that, you know, the sandcastles are like events that are happening so fast right now, like almost faster than we can check them. It's like the 24-hour life cycle. Like, forget the news cycle. And life is always that way, but it's like the 24-hour news cycle has like exacerbated that and aggravated it and did all kinds of things. But it seems like we've kind of taken it on in our personalities in a way. And so this onslaught of events just boom, 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 happening one after the other, so that you can just barely sort of recognize something happened. Forget about like digesting it and, you know, making some sense of it in your mind. And under the circumstances that are just not only do they not seem like they're going to stop anytime soon, but they seem like they're going faster and faster and faster. So you have to adapt, and you have to manage your time, and you have to still exist while all these changes are happening. And they don't all necessarily immediately affect each one of us, but most of them at some point do. And then you have to kind of be ready to make changes, or at least understand that changes are going to come, and then at some you will have to deal with them. So that's what I got from that, like just the fact that I was just in the vision having to like build the thing and then hurry up though, you know, before the next wave comes and takes it out. And I wrote that I didn't so much miss the thing, like I didn't so much care about it getting destroyed, because you knew that you could just do another one right quick. And I feel like that's something that we don't really use in our own lives. Like, I can only really speak about my own feelings on matters because those are the ones that I know. But I feel like eventually, like, we're going to have time to process all these things that are happening. But all of the happening, I think that's the integration. There's probably other things in this particular card reading, but not really about the sand. So I did talk about it, though. I think it was maybe 2 videos ago, could be the last one. I have lost track, but I didn't feel like I could stuff any more into the description box, which I'm not sure people are even looking at, but I do have a note on my board there to notify people of the fact that there usually is something related to the video that I'll have like some afterthought and be like, oh, this point. So I did go and do that in the video where I talked about the sand, but it was so stuffed I didn't want to add anything else, but I did have a last thing, and it was the first thing, because when I was getting all these sand things, I didn't realize that even it was signs at first, because I don't know, I'm slow. But anyway, the first thing I did when I realized something was happening was I looked up the spiritual significance of sand. And it says, sand is a sacred symbol. Hold on. Can you add another time, like away from here? Sorry. As I was saying, sand is a sacred symbol that speaks to the very essence of our spiritual journey. Hold on. Sand is a sacred symbol that speaks to the very essence of our spiritual journey. It represents the transformative power of the divine, which moves through our lives like the winds that reshape the dunes. Each grain of sand is a reflection of the divine essence. That would be us, the sand, a unique manifestation of the source of creation. So, it's not like spirit doesn't have a hand in all of these things. It's that whole connection thing that sometimes is hard for us to grasp, but we're not just connected to people and easy things that we can look at and think of. There are it's alleged that there are a lot of extraterrestrial and extra-dimensional races that we are connected to in ways that are not readily apparent. But here's a hint on what that's about. The ETs that are here, and there are some here helping, not just with the military that you have rumors about, but just others that are just out there, from planets and dimensions, other places, and they have a stake in what's happening here. But let me just stick to the closeness, the connectedness. The ETs would prefer that we not set off nuclear weapons, and they have shut down the capacity of rockets to blow up that way. They just turn off the nuclear stuff so it can't work, or they don't let it launch. They'll do a number of things, and I mean, I've known about that for a long time, that it was them doing that, and it is a thing that I will, yes, accept as real, because I can. Like, it makes sense. And here's the thing, the reason why they do that is because not only are the stupid nukes super destructive to us, and we don't know how to clean them, and we don't really know how to live with them, and they're just a mess until we learn how to figure that out, but that's supposed to come when we are able to, like, handle the idea of ETs, and then, like, treating them like some other people, because basically that's what they are. They're just from somewhere else, and they look different. The reason why they stop our nukes, though, is because not only do they damage here, they damage the neighboring dimensions. So, we're not just fucking up our shit, we're fucking up other people's too, and we don't even know it. So I hate that. Like, how rude, right? But nobody needs that stuff in that particular form. Like, we haven't learned it yet, but those molecules and things can be rearranged and do different, less damaging things. We have a lot to learn. So, and that would be integration too. Integrating the knowledge of them and how long we've known them and what we've done with them and for each other. over time, over a long time. But that's coming somewhere down the line, I suppose. But I just wanted to sort of talk about that integration because it's almost like it's just a natural thing, and we're so smarty pants. We're just getting in the way of, natural progression, of normal stuff that's supposed to happen. And I think it's slowing us down in a way because I know that it feels like time is speeding up because it is, but the progression of humanity to integration at the start, at the very least, I think, is something that I've learned that our extraterrestrial and extra-dimensional friends would like us to snap it up. There is a sort of schedule, but we're behind developmentally with, I guess, the rest of the universe, and on some level that's causing disruption, and that's about as specific as I can be about that because I don't fully understand it, but that. So, okay. What does that say? Relatively short. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. That's pretty much it. Thank you and good night.